I have no idea what the practical applications for what I'm about to show you might be, but it's a ton of fun, and if you've got ComfyUI and a webcam and a computer that'll support this tech, you gotta stick around for this. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we discuss the creative uses of AI, including things like AI music, which we've been focusing on a lot recently, but also AI video, AI art, AI animation, and all of those fun things. Face swapping, voice cloning, it's all fair game here because it all can be used creatively. So a couple of months ago, I shared a workflow for ComfyUI called Magic Mirror, which allows you to use your webcam to drive the output of your AI video. It takes your webcam input, then takes whatever prompt you lay on top of that, and then gives you output in what we might call real time, but is nowhere near anything like live streaming video. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the updated workflow, and the only difference between it and the original Magic Mirror workflow that I posted before is the addition of this FaceID group here. Because while we've been gone playing with AI music, a lot has happened in Stable Diffusion space, and one of the big things that happened was the IP adapter, the ability to use an image as a prompt for your output, got updated. And that had everybody give it a little bit more attention. And one of the aspects of IP adapters that I had not really given a lot of attention to was this thing called Face ID. And that's mostly because I always made my own custom models of people that I wanted models of. And I've been very happy with the Faceswap solutions built into ComfyUI and that are available outside of ComfyUI as well. Things like Reactor and Roop and FaceFusion. I didn't feel like I really had much use of Face ID. However, in this instance, it's really, really cool. And let me show you how. I'm going to go ahead and just fire up this workflow. To run through how it works real quick, we load any Stable Diffusion model you'd like. I prefer the turbo models, and I've played with a ton of them with this particular process. And my favorite one so far that just gets the best results is Reality's Edge XL LCM Turbo XL sensors, which you can get over on Civet AI. And of course, I'll leave a link for you. What do you think I am? Down here, we got a little node that captures your webcam. I only have one webcam plugged in, so it is webcam 0. I run all that through the SDXL Lightning 2-step LoRa to speed things up. And if you don't have that, you can go to the ComfyUI Manager, click on Install Models, do a search for SDXL or 2-step or whatever you want to put in there, and install it from there. Then, of course, we have our prompt. And then that all runs through the K-sampler, and you can adjust all of this in real time. This is the input from the video camera when it's updated, and here's our output. And as I said, this is our IP adapter / Face ID group. Before we hit Q prompt, we need to make sure that we put this thing in auto queue so that it keeps sending the same prompt over and over to give us this sort of pseudo real-time feedback. I want to click on extra options, and then I want to make sure auto queue is checked, and then I'm going to click Q prompt. Now, the first time it runs, it'll have to run this model, which is already loaded, of course, for me. And you can see that as I move up here, this image, the camera image, is updated at a pretty slow frame rate, admittedly. And of course, then the image here is updated based on the prompt that we have here. So right now it says Albert Einstein. I could say Hulk Hogan, let it run through. It's got the Hulk part. Haven't gotten to the Hogan part. There we go, right? So again, it's an approximation of Hulk Hogan. I could maybe try to emphasize it a little bit more here with just your standard control up arrow, emphasize Hulk Hogan more, and that actually did work a little bit. And if I just delete any kind of prompting whatsoever to just sitting on a park bench in a heavy snowstorm, and we don't really see a lot of heavy snow, we've got some, we just get this sort of generic guy in a purple shirt because I'm wearing a purple shirt, and all this background here is based on my real background, not the AI cool studio background, but what I'm really sitting in, which there's a voice booth back here, we got a green screen back here, we got a green screen back here. We got a cat bed on the floor, right? And all of that is being taken into consideration when it's building this image. Well, because this is random, what if we want to have more control over this? Well, that's what this video is all about. That's where Face ID comes in. So I'm going to just activate all these nodes here in this Face ID group by selecting them and then clicking Control B. And then everything's going to run through this IP adapter. That may take some time the first time it processes a new face. But then watch what happens to the updated image. I'll bet you can predict what will happen. And there you go. Now the face of the output image is based directly on this image that we've loaded in here, but it does slow the process down considerably to do this. You'll see that the updates of my webcam are much slower, and thus, of course, the updates of this right here are much slower, but it's still kind of a fun thing to play with. So we want a different picture, we can just drag a different picture. Let's take this one, drop it in here, and because we don't have any sort of specification of what type of person we've got here, we don't say man, we don't say woman, we don't say hair color, we don't say anything. We've just got sitting on a park bench. It will just take this image, run it through the IP adapter process, and then update it with that. So right now, she's just sort of wearing whatever it defaults to given a snowstorm. if we want to put her somewhere else, maybe not in a heavy snowstorm, instead on a park bench by the ocean on a sunny day. Let's see what it does with this purple shirt of mine. You can see even the facial expression on the output is very much based on what we've got here. It would be hard for me to, like, for example, smile my way through this. However, if I was to say smiling and let that prompt run through, now she's smiling. Didn't really change what she was wearing too much. We could spell wearing a light purple silk blouse. So now we'll go from this heavy coat or sweater or whatever she's got here, hopefully, to something lighter. Yeah, see? So again, it's mirroring my movements, it's mirroring all of my stuff. It just takes a while because the IP adapter is definitely slowing things down. And we're not really seeing the ocean here either. It's way off there in the background. We can play with the CFG scale. We can add a couple more steps to the thing. We could emphasize the word ocean, do all that stuff, and we'll probably get a little bit more of an ocean back here. It's just that it's taking this voice booth back here and it's going, I got to do something with it, so it's turning it into trees or whatever. So that looks more like a lake, but we can continue tweaking this all day long. So let's do something with a radically different style. So this is obviously photorealistic. Let's take this picture here, which is another red-haired woman, but obviously a caricature style, and see what it does. Okay, so it has a lot of fun with it is what it does. Now I think that mouth is probably permanently open like that. I don't know that I can prompt my way past that open mouth. I could maybe lower the weight of this a little bit. Well, that's a lot. Lower it down, who knows, and say maybe mouth closed. Don't really need to. That's not really the purpose of this, to try to force this thing into doing something different. Now we've taken that weight way down to 50 and that's not going to work, so we just lose it. We're going to pop it back up here. We'll take another caricature image. This guy here, we'll drop that on there. And maybe instead of a light purple silk blouse, we say a fancy purple suit. I'm just saying purple because I'm wearing purple, and I probably wouldn't be able to prompt my way past that color without upping the CFG scale and everything way more, and you're going to end up with a much different picture. So we've taken this caricature style and transferred it here, which is pretty interesting. Let's take another style like this Pixar woman here, and we'll drop her right in there. Again, I've got nothing here except sitting on a bench, wearing a fancy purple suit. How about wearing a, I'll just say, well, let's just see what it does. Here you go. So there's the suit, but I've since deleted that, so it'll run back to I just put in a purple sweater again. But you can see that the Pixar style, or that 3D animated style, has transferred great here. Now let's see how many steps we can get this down. Let's take the CFG scale down to 1.9. Let's take it down to 2, because it is a 2-step LoRa, so in theory it should work. So now we're at 2 steps. So it's updating quicker, but that picture is clearly broken. Let's take it up to 4 and see what happens. So that cleans it up a little bit. Still not as sharp as we want, but that does, it makes things twice as fast. So if speed is your priority, we can take the CFG scale down and see what happens. 1.3. So it takes away some of the park and it brings back some of my room. So we're not getting as much of the influence of the text prompt, but it's still working at 1.3 CFG. Let's take it down to 1, see what happens. We've still got, even at 1, we've got the woman in the purple shirt. So at 4 steps, that's pretty good. That's pretty impressive. I thought, well, if that worked, how about this? So we take this little princess person, we drop that in there. Well, we find that when we put her in, we get this error because there's no face detected. This is just a little bit too animated. So I thought, well, what if I zoom all the way in to the face and try it again? But yet I still found that even with that, it still didn't see the face. But take an image like this, which potentially has a similar problem, and run that one, and we get that. Now I'm going to definitely want to pop up the CFG again and the steps to get a better quality image here. But you can see that the style did transfer nicely. How about instead of sitting on a park by the ocean, how about sitting on a rock by a bank? You're not going to be able to see the rock because you don't see what I'm sitting on. Well, you see rocks. I was wrong. Now, it doesn't say, it looks more like a river bank. I didn't specify like a city bank, but that looks nice, right? That's pretty cool. I gotta say, that's pretty cool. And we can probably get a little faster, lower the steps a little bit, just play with all this stuff. Also, you can play with denoise value. You can bring that down, you can bring it up. It will, of course, the more you bring the denoise value up, the more it's gonna change the overall image. Oopsie. She's getting a little, but anyway, we'll take that back down to where it's actually seeing me and not just making up new images. So what if you wanted to do this with somebody that you knew, that you didn't have a model built for, you didn't have a LoRa built for, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about when I say either of those things? Well, you can just drag the picture of that person. This is Tracy, so I definitely have her permission. Drop it in there, again, just sitting on a rock by a bank. Nothing about Pixar style, nothing like that. We're going to go back to realistic. And there she is. It would definitely need some tweaking. Probably want to up the steps and things like that. But really, at the end of the day, this little workflow is pretty much a toy. I think it's fun, and you can maybe get some cool creative ideas from it, and you could probably take any of these source images that you use and use them as IP adapter sources. So I'm not saying it's a total waste of time, but I am saying that a lot of time can be sucked when you do this. So one more fun example before we go. With all the problem that it had seeing that one picture because it couldn't detect a face, I thought for sure we'd have a problem with this one here. However, when I drop this in and let it process, it does see a face, and check this out. I love this. I wish it would update faster, and of course we can play with the steps and take it down to see how quickly we can get this to update with that kind of a cool look. Hopefully some of this will prompt you to give this a try, and maybe you can find a practical use for it and share it with me here. Or maybe you will get inspired and build on this workflow and do something with it that actually makes sense in the real world. Now, the other thing that you should be aware of before you take this on is that every little image that is generated, this one here, plus the one from your webcam, is being saved in your ComfyUI temp directory. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that you delete those if it doesn't delete automatically when you leave ComfyUI, so that your hard drive doesn't get filled up with them. For me, it's just a best practice to go into that temp directory and just delete everything if closing ComfyUI didn't do it automatically. So if you enjoy learning about this creative AI stuff, whether it's AI video and animation like this or the AI music, which we've been exploring recently, please subscribe to this channel because this is the type of content we cover all the time.
If you subscribe now, I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you do not, I will look for you. I will find you. And I